Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle Saga and I am the crafty chick behind Shell's Beads. Today's tutorial is in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and the cup that we will be making today was very near and dear to my heart, as the recipient of this cup is a personal friend of ours and a breast cancer survivor. The inspiration behind this cup was actually from this month's Chaos Glitter Box, and it was jam-packed full of amazing pink glitters that were perfect for designing a beautiful awareness cup for somebody who is battling this horrible illness. So today, this is the cup that we are going to be working on. I chose a half vinyl wrap and half peekaboo design to really kind of bring together several elements, and it also allowed me to use every color in the glitter box. So I know it seems like a lot, but the glitters are amazing, and I love the sprinkle effect that I was able to create using them. The SVG for this cup is going to be available on my Facebook group, Shell's Beads Community, and click on the link below in the description box to go ahead and join the group so you have access to files like this and to join my crafting community. So all of the other supplies that I use will be listed and linked in the description box below, so make sure to check that out. I always try to link all of the products for you just to give you an easier time creating. So if you guys are ready to get started on this tutorial, let's go. To get started with this tutorial, you're going to need a fully prepped and sanded cup. To do that, I also spray painted it with Candy Pink from Rust-Oleum 2 times. After we're done with that, we are going to measure our cup to get the circumference so we can divide that in half and find the dimensions for our patterned vinyl. My measurements came in a little bit over 4.5. I will have the exact measurement listed down below, but it would be different if you were using a different sized cup. I am using a 20-ounce skinny straight from MakerFlo Crafts, so that was the dimensions of mine. Keep in mind when you're measuring your vinyl, you want to measure from the patterned edge, not the white edge, because we will be cutting that white edge off. I make several tick marks going up and then connect those dots together to create a straight line that I will use to cut using my paper cutter. Once I have it cut on my paper cutter, I'm also going to trim off all of those extra white bits that are on the edge. To apply the vinyl, I like to give myself some kind of reference point. So I'm going to start at that 0 line and measure over the same width as what my vinyl piece is going to be. And like I said, it was just a little over 4.5 inches. And I'm going to put 2 tick marks, one on either side of the measuring tape. That way I can use that to line up the edge of my vinyl so that we have a straight application. To apply the vinyl, we are going to peel back about 1/2 inch or so, and I fold that backing paper back just to kind of give me an anchor point, and I'm going to line it up with the 2 lines that I had on my tumbler. And then from there, I'm going to flip the cup around so that I am kind of manipulating and pushing that vinyl away from me. I just feel like it comes off of the transfer backing a lot easier than if I were to try to do it the other way around. Once it is completely on the cup and off of the backing paper, just make sure you have any, if you have any bubbles, you can pop it with an X-Acto knife, or wrinkles, you can gently peel it up and stretch it out. For this next part, we are going to be trimming up the top and bottom rims. So I will let you guys visually watch what I'm doing here. It's basically your, all around easy go to trim it off for both the top and the bottom, but I wanted to touch on how we are going to trim that top up. So one of the biggest issues is when you try to sand down vinyl, you end up having an issue with just kind of an uneven looking edge to your vinyl. So my friend Megan Fowkes has come up with an amazing ingenious hack, and she has a great TikTok out for it, so I will have her TikTok listed below. But basically, you are going to take a credit card or rewards card and one of your plain X-Acto knife blades. You're going to stack the blade on top of the card, and holding the blade in place with your hand, we are going to go around that vinyl on the rim, kind of the same way we used that cup edging tool. what it does is remove a very fine line of the vinyl so that when we go to sand our cup after a few layers of epoxy, we will have a nice clean edge to which our final layers can adhere to. Look at that hack, guys. I can't wait for you guys to watch her TikTok. She showed it much better than I did, and it's really helpful. So to do our first epoxy, we are going to need to tape off our vinyl area because we only want to get our glitter on to that light pink part that we still have spray painted. This was a little fussy for me. I'm sure that there must be some quicker way to do this, but basically I took painter's tape and lined it up with the bottom, and I did have to trim that one edge because I just wanted to make sure that I was getting it straight to line up future pieces of tape. And then from here, we are going to go straight into using the epoxy method to apply our first layer of glitter. To apply the glitter using the epoxy method, I'm going to mix up about 5 milliliters of epoxy, but I'm only going to use probably about half a milliliter. So just a tiny little drop of epoxy onto the painted areas of the cup. I'm really working that in good with a gloved hand, and then I'm going to let it set for just a few seconds to kind of level out before I apply my glitter. For this, I'm going to be using Brave Mix from Chaos Glitter, and it was the lightest and finest cut of glitter in the October box. So because it's the only color I'm adding to this, I'm not really applying it any way special. I'm just shaking it over the cup, making sure that I fill in all of the light pink areas. I am going to be doing the bottom of the cup as well. And later on in the video, I'll show you a little mistake that I had, and it doesn't really matter if you have one like that because we're doing a peekaboo method. So I go ahead and tap off any excess just so I can make sure that I've covered all of my spots since this is a finer cut of glitter. So I do one more coat of glitter just to make sure that I have everything coated and tap it off one more time. And again, I always inspect before I move on, but those 2 layers should be enough. Set the cup off to dry for about 15 minutes and then remove your tape. You want to make sure that you don't leave the tape on for too long because it will adhere to those areas and it will be impossible to remove later. Now we're ready to move into our first layers of epoxy. To do this, I mixed up about 25 milliliters of my favorite epoxy from the epoxy resin store, and I added Unicorn Frost into it from Chaos Glitters. This is a super fine white glitter that has a beautiful kind of rainbow brilliance to it, and I really like to use it when I'm going over pattern vinyl just to add a little pop of sparkle. It also went really nicely with that light pink, so I didn't have to worry about just containing it to the pattern vinyl area. I went ahead and applied this epoxy to the cup, and then I let it sit for about 4.5 hours before I went in with a second coat. Now it's time to sand the rim of our cup, and as you will see in a few seconds, how handy that hack from Megan came in, because that basically gives us that perfect little space to create that fine line of stainless steel for our future layers of epoxy. So thank you again, Megan. That was an amazing hack. Now we're going to create the ribbons for our Peekaboo. To do that, I uploaded my file into Design Space, and I got my file from Creative Fabrica. This is one of my favorite places for graphics, and I've teamed up with them to get you a great deal for just $1 all access for 1 month and $19 a month after that. I will have the link listed in the description box below, along with the link to this file. Once you've uploaded your file into Cricut Design Space, you are going to want to ungroup it and get rid of all of the extra ribbons that you don't want to use. I chose this ribbon here because I really liked the shark bite pattern at the bottom of the ribbon, and the cut lines were really nice to be able to translate into a cut file. I went ahead and sized the height to 2 inches and let the width auto-populate, and then I multiplied that, duplicated the ribbons about 8 times. I duplicated one more time and resized it to 1.75, and that will be for the bottom of my cup. Once you're done with that, go ahead and click Make It, and you can use whatever vinyl you have on hand to create these stencils. Now that you have them cut out and weeded, we're going to use a piece of transfer tape, and I just randomly place these on the cup. I think the most important thing to remember is to find your smallest one and apply it to the bottom of the cup first. Now, you may notice the bottom of my cup here has some dark pink lines. So I ended up having a little bit of a boo-boo, and I was testing out my Posca paint pen to see if it would be a good match, and it wasn't. But because I am doing a peekaboo look, you will not see that little mishap at the end. So I just left it as is. If it bothers you, you could go back in and re-glitter that area, but I didn't feel like it was necessary. So moving along, I am just applying these awareness ribbons kind of in a random fashion. I didn't want it to look too exact, and I wanted to stagger the placement of the way they faced and oriented. I did come back in once I had placed my last one, and I didn't really like some of that negative space in the middle. It kind of looked like 4 ribbons surrounding a blank center. And since I didn't have any future plans for that area, I wanted to go ahead and readjust that top right-hand ribbon by removing it and taking one of my extra awareness ribbons and just kind of readjusting where I wanted that placed. I wanted these to be completely random. I didn't want it to look like there was any pattern or anything like that going on. So I just shifted the placement and the angle of it slightly, and that gave me a more random look. Now we are ready to move into taping off this cup so that we can apply our Peekaboo spray paint. So to do that, I want to mask off the area that has the vinyl because we don't want to spray paint over that. We still want to be able to see that. I chose a tape this time that is a little bit more see-through than the blue tape so that I could see that line at the bottom where my vinyl starts. And I am going to come in after I have my tape applied, and I'm going to run a craft blade over that just so I can trim the tape exactly to that area. This is easier with this tape. I will have exactly the one that I used listed in the description box below so that you guys can find it if you are having trouble. As you can see, I'm taking my scalpel blade and I'm running it along that line. This was a little bit of a fussy process, and if you have an easier way that you mask off your areas, by all means, please feel free to do that. This was just what worked best for me. So I liked it because it was actually quite a precise application. Now we're ready to spray paint our cup with Rust-Oleum 2x flat white. You want to make sure that this is a very even coat and that you have very good coverage because you will see this in the final project. Now it's time to remove our tape and our vinyl stencils. When I removed the tape, I realized that my line down at the bottom was a little crooked, but fear not because we are going to be adding some vinyl line accents to this area of the cup, so it will hide any of those little imperfections. To remove our ribbon decals here, you want to take whatever tool feels the most comfortable, and you just want to pick up that little corner of one of the ribbons or a little element part of the ribbons and peel it towards the inside of the decal. What I mean by that is stay away from scraping outward towards the body of the paint because unfortunately, if you scratch that, it will show up into your final design. If you do accidentally have a little mark, I will show you a quick fix. Because we are doing the kind of scatter method with glitter on this cup for this area, you'll be able to maybe strategically place a piece of glitter over an area like that I ended up messing up on. Let's get all of our glitter ready. All of these glitter colors are from the Chaos Glitter October box, and they were absolutely perfect for this project. I loved the variety in tone and color of this glitter, and I did want to use all of them on the cup. So the easiest way that I felt that this could be achieved is by doing a scatter method. I will be applying each one of these glitters by hand using kind of a pinch and drop method where you're just sprinkling little bits of each color onto the cup. I do want to forewarn you that one of these is a shaped glitter in the shape of a awareness ribbon, and this was a little more difficult to apply. You really want to make sure your hands are dry and that you're sprinkling just a very little amount. Now we're going to prep our cup for that glitter application, and to do that I'm going to apply 25 milliliters of epoxy to this cup. You want it to be a thicker coat because we will be dropping all of that beautiful chunky glitter onto the surface of this cup. So I want to get it all smoothed on and as even as possible. And I do this by taking my gloved hand and making sure that I'm rubbing bottom to top and really making sure that I have an even coat of resin across the whole cup. You're also going to want to make sure to pop any noticeable bubbles because you don't want that to interfere with your glitter. Now that the cup has turned for a few minutes and your epoxy is leveled out, we are going to start sprinkling in our glitter. I start with my awareness ribbon glitter first because it was the most difficult. As you can see, I got a clump there, but because the resin is still wet, we will be able to come in with a tool and fix that up a little bit. So I just dropped those strategically. I didn't want too many of those in there. And then I'm going to come in with each subsequent color and I'm going to just add all of them to the cup using the sprinkle method. I followed up with my most opaque or dark colors next, just so I would have kind of a backdrop for my more transparent mixes to kind of lay over as these glitter colors start to mix. Don't forget to throw a little bit of glitter at the bottom of your cup because you also want to translate that into the bottom of your cup as well. You can see how all of the glitter mixes and colors are starting to come together. And I decided at this point in the cup that it would be a great idea to kind of bring this glitter into not only around the ribbons, but also into my patterned vinyl area. I felt like it tied everything together nicely and helped with that transition so it wasn't so harsh. At this point, I also decided that it was futile to keep the glitter out of those peekaboo areas, but because it is a scatter method, it really just lended something to this design. You could totally leave this step out. This was just something that I wanted to do, and I felt like it added everything together. It was at this point that I took a pair of tweezers that I used just for resin, and I separated those awareness ribbons and just kind of moved them so they weren't so clumpy. You're going to let this layer cure for 4 to 6 hours and come in with a second layer of epoxy to cover this glitter. Once that's cured for 12 hours, we are ready to move on to our decal work. For our decals, we're going to be using a quote that I designed, and it is available for download in my Facebook group. Just click on the link in the description box below. So I forgot to film putting that decal on the cup, but what we're doing here is moving on and adding our vinyl lines to the cup so we can kind of frame out that area. It also helps to hide any little minor imperfections that were there at that join between your patterned vinyl area and your white peekaboo area. I apply my vertical lines first, and then I come in and do the bottom horizontal line that runs along the bottom of the cup. You're going to want to make sure that you have as smooth of an epoxy coat as possible to apply this vinyl to, because unfortunately the metallic vinyl is not very forgiving if you have imperfections on your cup. If you have any pokey bits that are sticking up, this vinyl will show it. So once we have this applied, we are going to trim off all of these extra bits. And to do that, I just run my craft knife along that very edge where the two pieces meet. And I pick it up. This vinyl's a little fussy, guys, so you have to apply a little bit more pressure than normal and kind of anchor your ends down so it doesn't pick up. However, what I will say is using this patterned vinyl that has this like bubble-like effect really made a huge difference in hiding that seam. So now you see me trimming the top, and you want to make sure to trim down far enough that we seal in this vinyl with our final coats of epoxy. We're now ready to move into our final coats of epoxy. This cup did take 3 coats of epoxy to get completely smooth, and one reason for that was that horizontal strip of vinyl towards the bottom of the cup. It was kind of, as you can see, on a little bit of a curved area, so I wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to cause us any problems later on, so I wanted to make sure to get good enough coats of epoxy covering it. Make sure to torch in between each coat so that you pop any bubbles that might be present. After you let it sit for 72 hours, the cup is ready to use. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, guys. I really enjoyed putting all of this together for you and showing you a beautiful way that you can put together an awareness cup. To be honest, this cup could be tweaked for just about any cancer or illness that has an awareness ribbon. You would just need to change up the colors. So I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please comment down below in the comment box. I love hearing from you guys. And if you like this video, give it a huge thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. It really does mean the world to me and helps me bring you amazing content. Don't forget to hit that bell button so you never miss a minute of the fun. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to my new members of my Facebook group. You guys are amazing. If you want to catch my last video here, click right here and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, stay creative.